Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The Valentine's Day edition of the DRF Race of the Day for Wednesday. It's race number 7 at Tampa Bay Downs. Maidens going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. Let's take a look at this field. Your morning line favorite, the morning line odds maker, Sweet on the foregoing concern. A first-time starter trained by Chad Brown, so you know this horse is going to take money, but where's he been? It's his 4-year-old season. He hasn't started yet. He's been working since about Thanksgiving regularly with no entries.
Yeah, he's also already a gelding. Yeah, and he's a horse. Forget about just working since Thanksgiving, Dad. This horse was on the work tab as a 2-year-old. He didn't debut all through his 3-year-old. I mean, there's just nothing but works for this horse, which isn't something I love. The flip side of that is he's well bred, top connections. Chad Brown has outstanding numbers when he debuts at Tampa.
We'll talk a little bit more about his pedigree and his overall attributes in a moment. But first, we'll throw up the Timeform U.S. Pace Projector. 3 first-time starters in this race that do not have pace data. Any one of the 3 could show speed. Of the horses with experience, the 8 Magistrate has shown speed and is likely to be up close to the pace. Aquarius Moon is going to try turf for the first time, draws an advantageous inside post. I think Silent Mode is going to be fresh off the layoff and is going to be close.
Yeah, we'll see how the pace plays out, because you're right. The first-time starters, could affect how this race is run for sure. But certainly Magistrate seems like a speed.
Number 1 is Aquarius Moon. This horse is trying turf for the first time. In his 7th lifetime start, he's hit the board in half of his prior outings on dirt. His sire, Ransom the Moon, does not do very well with turf runners, but the dam has foaled 3 turf winners from 4 runners. Not a ton of black type, but this horse has run some solid races on dirt at least.
He has sort of a mixed bag as far as his pedigree goes. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. We'll see how the surface switch works out for him. I think more than anything else, Dan, just don't really love his most recent start on the dirt. I mean, to me, I didn't really see his excuse there. He just wasn't good enough. And so he's just going to have to be a lot better on the grass. We'll see. At 12-1 in morning line, I wouldn't argue too hard, but I don't like him that much.
The number 2 Secret Treasure is going to move back to the turf after 2 dirt races for these new connections. He ran on turf 4 starts back. It's hard to really evaluate his turf form because he was wired in a slow-paced race that day. His only other turf start came off a little bit of a layoff and only start number 2 without LASIK. So he's relatively unexposed, and at least his recent dirt form is good.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, he's another one. He's exiting that the same race that Aquarius Moon was in on dirt last time. And if nothing else, that was a really competitive pace, and it was a closer's race, and this horse sort of sat off of it. And he ran fine in there. He didn't, again, he had no excuse not to win. He just happened not to get the job done. I didn't love that performance. His 3 prior turf races do nothing for me.
Another horse trying a turf again is the number 3 Silent Mode. And it's too early to say whether this horse just is better on the main track. His 2 turf races to date, one was his career debut. He was 108-1 and was completely overmatched. And the second turf race, he was off a lengthy layoff and he faced a pretty solid horse. It was a race where he was involved in a solid pace up front, and the winner came back to place with a 74 buyer in a first-level allowance at Laurel.
Right. He's been in 2 turf races. He didn't run well in either of them, but, almost certainly they were way tougher races than this. I have no idea how good this horse is, Dan. He's finished second in his last 2 dirt starts. They dropped him way down in class. He wasn't good enough in either of those races. You could argue that he's just better on turf. That might be true, but he's going to have to be a lot better than we've seen him.
Here's the morning line favorite, the foregoing concern. This one sold overseas as a yearling for $139,000. Mike mentioned a very strong turf pedigree. The dam is a full sister to a grade 3 winner on the turf named Dress Rehearsal. You mentioned Chad's numbers with these sort of horses debuting at Tampa, and it just looks like he's found a good spot.
I mean, yeah, all those things are true, and he'll probably take a ton of money in here. And that's probably the right way to look at this horse, Dad. He probably should take money in here. I just, there are just those intangibles with first-time starters. Sometimes you like it, and sometimes you don't. You and I don't talk a ton about workouts on this show, Dad. I personally don't care that much about them, but I hate this kind of a look with a horse who's just been on the tab forever and not running.
The number 5 is Admiral Curl, a second-time starter, moving dirt to turf and stretching out around 2 turns. A bargain yearling by Curl, and one of the best stallions in the world. Admiral Curl only sold for $22,000. The dam by Union Rags, who is not a good turf sire. The dam went 0 for 2 on this surface, but LASIK's on, blinkers on, getting the complete makeover while stretching out in distance.
Exactly. And the dam, for what it's worth anyway, is a sister to a horse named Dixie Chatter, who was a really good synthetic horse and a really good turf horse, a grade 2 winner on the grass, grade 1 placed on the grass. So, I mean, I guess there's enough turf pedigree here to assume that this horse will run better in here, Lasix and blinkers on. I don't love the Curlins on turf. I know they handle it, but I don't love them. 30-1, I guess he's got some kind of a shot to do better.
Big Commerce, the number 6, looks like a strong fit in this race, earning a 71 Beyer speed figure in his most recent turf start. That was at Gulfstream Park in a maiden special. They ran him on the all-weather, the Tapeta, last time out. He got wired that day. It looked like a solid field. The runner-up came back to stretch all the way out and win a maiden special weight with a 79 Beyer.
Well, let's just see how much better he can do, I guess. I mean, maybe you could argue that just based on the turf race 2-back, he doesn't have to do that much better against this field unless one of these first-time starters is actually pretty good. I don't know, Dan. I didn't love his turf race 2 starts back. We'll see how good that field turns out to be. I thought this horse had a really good trip in that race and didn't run that well.
The number 7 is Legitimized. The bad news is the horse sold for $42,000 as a yearling, then went for only $6,000 as a February horse in training in 2023. The good news is he's by Justify, an excellent debut sire, an excellent turf sire. The dam won on turf. She's foaled one turf runner that has won. She's going to be a good price, and she goes out for a very underrated trainer, Tim Ham, who does well with first-time starters.
Yeah, all those things are true. And, you know, just to expand on the pedigree stuff, which is really there, this horse's second dam is Intercontinental, who was a super turf horse, a multiple grade 1 winner, and then she's related to about 10 grade 1 winners. I mean, it's amazing that they got this horse for $6,000, considering the family that this horse is from.
Magistrate is the number 8. Charlie Marquez takes them out for Arnaud Delacour. This horse ran on dirt last time out, showed some speed that day and tired. Prior efforts on turf and synthetic are good. I think this is probably a little bit of a class drop from what he has been facing on synthetic and dirt. The winner of the race 2 starts back came back and placed at Turfway in a first level allowance with an 81 Beyer.
Right. I mean, unless you've, talked yourself into one of the interesting first-time starters, and there are a couple of interesting first-time starters in here, this is the horse that you have to sort of start your handicapping with. Just based on the debut alone, the only turf race, this horse ran well in there. A 75 Beyer, at the end of his 3-year-old campaign, and he did make the lead in the stretch of that race, and he just happened to get run over by a really good winner.
Yeah, that Jimmy Toner trained horse took a little bit of a break after that race, but came right back and won at Gulfstream Park in the first start against winners. Completing the field is the 9, Au Paradis. This is a first-time starter going on for Shug McGahee by Quality Road. The dam won on the turf. This horse is out of a full sister to Magician, who won the Breeders' Cup turf. So there's a ton of pedigree here.
Ton of pedigree. Shug is another guy who does really, you don't think of Shug necessarily maybe with, for first out success, but when he debuts them long on the grass, they tend to run okay.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for our Valentine's Day DRF race of the day, race number 7 at Tampa Bay. We're going with first-time starters, but we're not going with the one you might think, the morning line favorite Going Concern. You're going with the 7 Legitimize, a horse I want to use simply because of the pedigree that you mentioned and the price potential.
That's why I put him on top. I mean, I think the 8's the horse to beat. And so we'll see how you could argue that second choice 3-1 on Magistrate might be fair enough in here just based on the only turf start. But I want to take one shot at a big price with Legitimize. This horse is wicked bred.
Like Chad, Shug McGahee, as Mike mentioned, has very good numbers with these sort of horses. First-time starters down at Tampa Bay Downs. Au Paradis, again, where's he been? He's a 4-year-old making his career debut. He's got a strong pedigree. He just has to work out a trip from a tough outside post. 7894 for Mike, 9876 for me. The DRF race of the day for Valentine's Day, the 7th at Tampa Bay. Best of luck.